Picture this. You're at your best friend's wedding, and he comes up to you and says, Brendan, I want you to give a speech to everyone. Except, he didn't tell me to prepare for it in advance. This is what is otherwise known as spontaneous speeches. How do you deliver a presentation without ever preparing for it? And that's exactly what we'll be answering on this week's episode of Master Talk. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Brendan from Master Talk here, your go-to channel to mastering your talk. And today we're covering the art of presenting something that you haven't prepared for, especially at a wedding. So let's get into it. If there's anything that you take away from spontaneous presentations, it's this. I don't know what I'm going to say as much as you do, but through my way of speaking, I'm going to convince you that I do, so that with some practice, you definitely will too. Number one, speakers use silences to masterfully buy time. You're in the same wedding. The groom comes up to you, gives you the glass and says, give a speech. Instead of panicking and worrying about what you're going to say next or what you're going to say because you have to give the presentation, you raise your glass, look at everyone, and say nothing. So that for the 5-10 seconds that you're looking at the crowd, in your head you're thinking, I need to figure something out. And in those 5-10 seconds, you say something like, to Michael and Julie, a couple that I've known for the last 10 years of my life, and at 10 years I'll never forget. And then you try and figure out the rest. But the point is simple. In regular presentations, you have time to prepare. How do I give my presentation? How do I formulate it and organize it in a way that I want to? But in spontaneous presentations, if you speak too quickly, you'll have a lot of trouble figuring out what you're going to say next and then stumble in the presentation. So remember, as long as you use silences masterfully to buy time, you'll have the time you need to deliver any wedding presentation. Number two, eye contact. Usually when people give speeches that they haven't prepared for, they tend to divert eye contact because they're trying to think of what to say next. But what you need to get into the habit of doing is, even if you have no clue what you're going to say next, like that wedding speech I was talking about, you still need to gaze into the eyes of your audience, even if inside you're panicking quite a bit. And using the silences to buy that time, you need to maintain that eye contact so that you convince your audience that you know exactly what you're going to be saying. I've known Julie and Michael for the past 10 years. They've changed my life. Every time that I go to a coffee shop with them, I can't stop but think the way that Michael looks Julie in the eyes. Even if, I have no idea who Michael and Julie is. But anyways, the point is simple. If you're able to look at people in the eyes for long periods of time, you'll be one step closer to mastering those spontaneous presentations. Finally, number three, facial nonverbal cues. Remember, if you look panicked, I have to give this presentation that I haven't prepared for, then your audience will panic. But if you look calm and collected and happy to be there, to talk about your friend's wedding in a way that inspires everyone, even if you have no idea what you're saying next, everyone's going to feel inspired and want to buy into your message. That's why it's very important to not just use silences to buy time, not just look at your audience, but also have the right non-facial verbal cues. Essentially, smile while you're talking, look excited to be there. So what I want to conclude this video with is by giving you a 60-second pitch and then give you an exercise so you can practice it. So let's get into that. Michael and Julie have known each other for the past 10 years and have had the pleasure of meeting them the second their relationship started. And the beautiful thing about Michael and Julie that I'll never forget is the way that they go together to any event, to any cocktail, to any gathering. Michael always takes that extra second to see how she's doing, to see how her night is doing. And Julie always likes to eat this piece of garlic bread that she has at every single event. And Michael never forgets to have that piece of garlic bread for him. Notice how so far in this pitch, I'm doing three things. I'm keeping the eye contact. My non-facial cues are showing happiness, even if I'm talking gibberish. And the third thing is I'm using silences to masterfully buy time. So this is a good example of how you can go about it. And obviously it's going to be much easier for you to come up with the wedding speech because you're going to know Michael and Julie or whoever's getting married a lot better than I will, in the same way that I would know that wedding couple that's getting married. Finally, let's end with a quick exercise. This is called the random word exercise. So the random word exercise is essentially where you take a random word and you create a presentation out of it. So let's say we take camera, shots. Shots aren't just the shots that you take to capture every moment on a camera, but they're also memories that you don't forget for a lifetime. So that way you can create introductions out of thin air, master spontaneous speeches, and be an exceptional communicator. As always, if you enjoyed this week's episode of Master Talk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel to see more videos like this. And remember everyone, I don't know, and I still don't, what I'm going to say as much as you do. But through my way of speaking, I'm going to convince you that I do, so that you, with some practice, will definitely showcase it as well. Take care, everyone. See you next time on Master Talk and have a fantastic week. Cheers.